Give to society and society will give back to you. I actually agree with that. However, I'm not sure they have a plan. You won't be able to get social housing for up to 5 years. A 3 strikes and you're out policy. Do you get a strike because somebody complained about you falsely? I think there's a reason they're doing this, potentially, which is they know there's not enough social housing. So the government know they don't have enough houses to provide for everybody. So is this actually more about stopping people from abroad getting social housing over and above a UK citizen? We've just had a new press release by the government around new social housing reforms to crack down on rule breakers. So what I thought I'd do on this episode was talk you through it and give you my opinion on it. Now, I have not even read this yet. I'm just going to read it and talk through it with you as we do. So basically, those who commit antisocial behaviour to face a ban of up to 5 years. So you won't be able to get social housing for up to 5 years. Let me read through it and give you my thoughts on this. An overhaul on how social housing is allocated to make the system fairer and not available to those who abuse it was announced by the government today. Measures which could ban those who blight communities and repeatedly make their neighbours' lives hell through antisocial behaviour or evict them through a 3 strikes and you're out policy are part of the new consultation. If you've got any antisocial behaviour against you, any ASBOs, etc., you probably don't qualify for social housing. But if you have a social housing property and you have 3 strikes, they will kick you out of that property. Interesting. So let's say a neighbour doesn't like you and they ring up. You've not done anything wrong, but they ring up and they complain about you. Do you get a strike because somebody complained about you falsely? Could you be prevented from getting a social housing home because people complained about you even though you didn't do anything wrong? Because that's very possible, by the way. So Housing Minister Lee Rowley said, "Today we are proposing further steps to make the allocation of social housing fairer for people. If you abuse the system, making people's lives a misery, or actively work against our British values, you are making a choice. Such choices will have consequences, and our proposals seek to stop such people getting a social home. The message is clear. Play by the rules, pay in, and we will support you. If you choose not to, this country is no longer going to be a soft touch. The public want to know decent and hardworking people that have contributed to this country will be prioritised for new social housing tenancies. People already living in social homes want to know that anyone moving near them will be respectful of their neighbours, with their communities protected from those who persistently break the law. That is why it is right that the finite resource of social housing is allocated fairly, and local law-abiding citizens in need have such access to a home in their communities." The government is seeking views from the public, the councils, the social housing tenants and providers, and want to bring forward the reforms. I think there's a reason they're doing this, potentially, which is they know there's not enough social housing. So the government know they don't have enough houses to provide for everybody. If we don't have enough houses to provide for everybody, and this is this huge waiting list for houses, what do? Create some rules around getting those houses that mean the list gets reduced significantly and they look like they're making progress on reducing the list. That could be one reason. But then what's the plan for all those they don't give a social housing home to? What do you do if you can't afford private rental and you don't get a social housing home? Are they basically saying sleep on the street? You don't go to prison for an ASBO. Quite often people are released from prison early. Where's the gap in the middle? Where do these people go? They have to go somewhere, and usually that's the social housing. Is there going to be support for people who are creating antisocial behaviour due to their mental state? So how do you determine, and who's going to determine? And there's already a shortage of people working in the local councils. There's already bankrupt councils and about to go bankrupt councils. So where's the money going to come from? Do they even care? Because there's such a shortage of property right now. There's such a huge waiting list of years in many councils for people to get a social housing home. Do they really care that a few who probably should qualify get marked off as non-qualified so they can stand before the election and say, when we got into power, we had a social housing waiting list of X million or X 100,000, and we have reduced it by Y amount. And it sounds great and looks amazing, but did they reduce it because they just bend a bunch of people and said, you don't qualify? But they're not actually improving the housing stock. They're not actually providing more housing stock. They're not solving the actual problem. And is this going to create an even bigger problem elsewhere? The reforms include new UK and local connection tests to determine social housing eligibility, with applicants required to demonstrate a connection to the UK for at least 10 years and their local area for at least 2 years. So is this actually more about stopping people from abroad getting social housing over and above a UK citizen? Come to the UK, we'll ship you off to Rwanda. Outside of the one comment about antisocial behaviour, there's comments about terrorism, which 100% agree with. If you're causing any terrorism, you don't deserve a social housing. You actually don't deserve to be in the country. Feedback on that, please. Do you think a terrorist deserves to be in the UK? But then they're talking about UK local connection tests. So are you an actual UK person? Do you have a local connection to anybody in the UK? As part of the reforms, people who have unspent convictions for certain criminal antisocial behaviour or have been subject to certain civil sanctions could be disqualified from social housing for up to 5 years. I think that's fair, but the real question is, where do they go? This sits alongside measures which could disqualify terrorist offenders, back to the terrorism again, from benefiting from social housing. Again, agree. Changes will be delivered by secondary legislation at the earliest opportunity. Knowing the government, the earliest opportunity will probably be 2052. The proposals build on a significant reforms already introduced by the government to improve the quality and quantity of the country's social housing stock. This includes the Social Housing Regulation Act 2023, under which the powers of the regulator of social housing to hold poorly performing landlords to account have been strengthening, and social housing residents' access to redress has been improved due to new powers. When you look at a lot of the poor quality social housing, the poorest quality social housing belongs to the government, not to the private landlord. The local councils don't have the money to repair them. The local councils are in debt. Many of the local councils are going bankrupt, and they want landlords to improve theirs while all the time introducing more and more and more constraints against a landlord. Rogue landlords need to be removed. Good landlords need to be supported. It says here that access to most social housing is managed by local housing authorities, who only allocate homes to people who are eligible and who qualify. The proposals are for a new national requirement to provide greater consistency for social housing applicants. So there you go. That is why the government are trying to increase homelessness in the UK. I can't see anything else happening. If they stop these people going into these homes, they're going to be homeless. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree with me? Do you agree? Do you disagree with the government? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss future episodes. And also, there's a completely free guide. It's in the pinned comments and in the description. It can help you get started on your property journey. Go download it right now, and let's get you moving and make this year your year. Where are they going to put them? Seriously?
We're just going to have a higher homeless rate, I think.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, this is what the consultation is. We need to figure out ways.
We don't. I think we should move them all into Lee Rowley's town.